There are millions of acres of opportunity out there. They belong to you. Every day, decisions are being made that affect your land, your water, your wildlife. You should know about them. This is your mountain.
Welcome, everybody, to the Your Mountain podcast. Different voice in the intro here. Who else have we got here?
I'm here, Mike.
That would be one Nephi Cole. We don't have a David Wilms, though.
Sorry, Dave. I really am sorry.
Yeah. Well, we're here because we wanted to check in on something that we had covered previously in one of our episodes, and there's been a movement, and I think this is a great opportunity to bring that to the attention of folks, almost perfectly timely with the release of this episode. So, Nephi, what are we going to cover today?
We're going to cover Sunday hunting. And first,
Sunday hunting.
I want to quickly say, this is not one of our normally scheduled episodes, but we do have an episode in the tank that's on a subject that's so controversial that we are not doing it service or youth service if we don't cover it fully. So we're endeavoring to kind of broaden our journalistic breadth and cover it effectively. So look for more to come, some special stuff. But yeah, today we're going to talk about Sunday hunting. All right. You hunt on Sundays, Mike?
I do.
You know what? So do I.
Sometimes that's about all I get to do. That's I got to take the girls hunting on a Sunday this year and got an antelope. It was like a one-day trip.
You know
what?
It
was perfect.
I think it's interesting. I think my Mormon heritage might be embarrassed, but typically most of my hunting trips include at least one Sunday.
Yeah. Imagine not being able to do that.
No, but you know what? 3 states, as of noon today, 3 states couldn't. You know what states they were?
Pennsylvania. What are the other two?
Massachusetts and Maine.
Massachusetts and Maine.
So those are 3 states that had Sunday hunting laws, like no hunting on Sunday. But as of 7 p.m. Eastern time today, this moment, right now,
which is November 18th, 2019.
Day of our Lord, we have now, we just got news from our good friend of the show, Jake McWigan, who is working this issue for a national organization that we are going to have Sunday hunting in Pennsylvania, it looks like.
That looks like it, yeah.
Yep, so Senate Bill 147 passed in Pennsylvania. That bill allows for 3 Sunday hunting Sundays. And so that bill passed 38 to 11 out of the Senate. And so it is now headed to Governor Tom Wolf's desk for his signature. And indications are that he is likely to sign that bill into law. So what that bill does is it allows for, I'm sorry I got into this so quickly because I had some great stories to tell, but we'll cover the bill first. Mm-hmm. So what that bill will do will allow 3 Sundays. And so for people that don't know kind of the history of this, that Sunday hunting bill originally came out of the Senate and went to the House where it saw some changes. And so some of the changes as that bill went to the House, when a bill changes in one house, it goes to the other house.
Right.
That house passes it. It has to go back to the original house for concurrence before that bill can then become law, because clearly they aren't the same anymore. So some of the changes that the House had made to that bill were asking local police departments to enforce trespassing. That was one of the issues in the bill.
Sure, yeah, because trespassing was one of the more controversial aspects.
That's right.
In addition to private landowners' concerns about having hunters knock on doors on the Sunday, kind of the peaceful day for them. And we covered a lot of that in episode 55 when Jake was on the podcast. So there's a lot of background information. But what you're saying is, since then, they've updated a little bit.
They've updated. They've come to they've found compromise on this. So some of the other compromise areas were unarmed persons looking to retrieve a hunting dog. They could do that, but they would not be subject to trespassing violations. And again, I'm going off cursory news that I have.
At least not under this law.
Yes. When passed, the bill goes into effect in 90 days rather than immediately.
Okay.
And then hunters are required in Pennsylvania to receive written permission by private landowners for those 3 huntable Sundays throughout the year. So if you're in Pennsylvania, you're going to start hunting on Sunday. Congratulations. Don't forget to get permissions from those landowners where you're going to be hunting, which I'm going to guess you were going to do anyway.
Right, yeah.
So some of the intricacies about this bill. So it's 3 Sundays during the year. Those Sundays, the commission is going to get a chance to determine specifically when those days are, but one of those days is going to be during the rifle hunt.
Okay.
One of those days is going to be during the archery deer hunt.
All right, yeah.
And then one of those days is going to be wherever the commission decides to put it.
So a commissioner designated day.
Yep. So it's at the discretion of the commission.
Okay.
Maybe it's during rifle hunt. Maybe it's during archery hunt. I don't know if there's, if they could stick it on an entirely, frankly, I don't know if they could put it on a different season or what that's going to look like. But still, that's kind of exciting that this is happening in Pennsylvania. You know why that's kind of exciting that it's happening in Pennsylvania, Mike?
That means there's a chance else places?
It means we're likely going to get those other 2 places, but there was a lot of back and forth on this bill in terms of, this is an old tradition.
Well, yeah, it's been a debate since
337-year-old law.
Yeah.
So 1682.
No time like the present.
No. So exciting stuff about Pennsylvania. Mike, how many deer hunters do you think they have? First let's say in the state of Wyoming, there are 500,000-ish people in Wyoming.
Right.
How many? You probably, if you remember this, because I just told you like 5 minutes ago.
Oh, I think you asked me this originally, and I thought it was 100,000.
Yep. 1.3 million hunters in Pennsylvania.
I was a little off.
1.3 million hunters. And
I was off by twice as many people as there are people in Wyoming.
Yeah, Pennsylvania is the leading deer hunting state in the nation. So 1,299,372, according to huntingpennsylvania.com. So that puts them number 1 in numbers of deer hunters. It is Pennsylvania's number 4 in the leading deer kill states. So you guys need to step up your game because Wisconsin's got you beat there. In terms of firearms, Pennsylvania's the leading firearms deer hunting state. 1 million people every year going into the field in Pennsylvania with a firearm to hunt deer, and then they have 300,000 bow hunters.
So you say there's 1.3 million hunters in Pennsylvania for deer every year, right?
Yep.
Which is amazing because the fiscal note attached to this bill figured that so their non-resident fee is $100. Let's say someone drives in from Pennsylvania. They figure for every additional 1,000 licenses sold, there'd be an additional $100,000 of revenue. That's just for like non-resident. Resident, if it's an additional 1,000 people of residents out of the 1.3 million, if you just can get 1,000 more, that's $19,000 more. So you can probably expect that there's going to be a significant number of revenue increased, assuming this does lead to more hunters. Yeah, in Pennsylvania.
And that's going to be the interesting question when you look at this. So now you have the law passed. Now you can hunt on Sundays.
Mm-hmm.
Will more people hunt because of this? Is it going to be the same amount of people with an additional day? Or do you get new blood now that's going to choose to hunt in Pennsylvania that wouldn't have otherwise?
Yeah, right. I would assume that we would be able to have a statistical analysis done in a couple of years that might correlate a change. But you got to figure that the average, 9 to 5 Monday through Friday worker might step up in addition to children and those who don't normally get that opportunity.
So one of the senator who brought this bill, said that he had been working on this for 3 years, and he said that he did this for his 12-year-old.
Mm-hmm.
Because this is an opportunity where now to take the next generation into the field that maybe didn't exist before. And I can totally see that.
Yeah, I think, I did that this year. I wouldn't have taken my kids on a weekday and taken them out of school.
Yeah. Well, here's the other part that I think is kind of exciting about it that we maybe don't talk about a whole lot. 1.3 million hunters in Pennsylvania.
Mm-hmm.
So let's say you're in a different state. Let's say you run game and fish in, let's say, Wyoming, where we have... How many hunters did we have last year?
No, I don't know those numbers. We don't have Dave here. We don't know those numbers. He would have looked it up. Not Dave would just know it off the top of his head.
it's not 1.3 million.
No.
Let's put it that way.
No.
Since it's 500,000 people in the state, let's just say that whatever percentage, 10% of the people in the state of Wyoming hunt.
Yeah.
So even if whatever that number might be, if you think about the percentage of people in Pennsylvania, if those people start hunting, how many of those people have to decide that they would like to go to Wyoming to hunt elk someday for it suddenly to be a big deal to Wyoming? There's 1.3 million people there.
Yeah.
If 1% of them get the hankering to come to Wyoming and hunt an elk, that's a big deal.
Yeah, right. I never thought about it as expanding out to other areas.
Absolutely. I mean, the deer hunting is like turkey hunting, hunting whitetail there. I feel like that's kind of the intro drug for getting involved in it. Have you ever hunted a whitetail?
I've gone out for them, but usually I'm in kind of that mixed country where you're really hunting muleys, but you might see a whitetail, and out here you can pretty much take them.
So before we get off the podcast, gratuitous whitetail hunting story for those of you in Pennsylvania considering hunting elk in Wyoming. So I've got a pretty nice whitetail trophy.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, in my office.
Yeah.
And the way that I got that trophy was not by sitting in a tree stand or working hard or working on my bow skills or anything like that. What happened is I was with a friend and we were going elk hunting. And we were on the bighorns.
Yeah.
And we were riding up. So the bighorns for everybody kind of picture Wyoming, it's like the bighorns is on the bordering Montana. They run from north to south, and they're kind of the line halfway through the state between the east side of Wyoming and the west side of Wyoming. Uh-huh. It's where you run into, mountains, big mountains, I think kind of for the first time. So we were down there in the foothills, and we're all on horses, and we were heading up to hunt elk for the day. And it's pretty early in the morning. We started hiking. We started riding up this side of this, the mountain. We're riding through this ranch, and the kid who's Zach Rogers, who, if you're listening to this, has recently been on the internet all over the place because he's out hunting with Adam Weatherby all the time and taking him out cougar hunting and stuff. But Zach and I were riding along through the backside of the ranch on our way up to the national forest, and he looks and he's like, "Hey, that's a pretty nice whitetail out there. You want to shoot a whitetail?" And I was like, "No, I'm not going to shoot a whitetail. I'm elk hunting." And so we're riding along, and these deer are just riding walking parallel to us. Yeah. A couple 100 yards out. So I was like, "Yeah, maybe I'll shoot a whitetail." So I get off the horse, get the rifle all set up, and we're watching these whitetail deer. And it's just as they're coming to the forest boundary, they come to this fence, and we're watching them come out of the trees, and they were, 300 yards away, and this, we see this little buck come out, and we'd seen a pretty nice buck in the group, and this little one comes out, he goes "Oh, there it is." I was like, no, that's not it. And then this other buck walked out. I was like, "That's it." And that was, my whitetail deer, knocked him down, and he rolled down the mountain. And then Zach, who is an absolute hunting fool, ran over to the deer, and we had the thing field dressed in 30 seconds. And he just said, "We'll come back tonight with the Jeep and pick it up." I was like, "Sweet. Well, that was nice." That was a nice deer hunt.
Mark the spot. There it is.
Yeah. And then we went and hunted elk all day. And then, but yeah, that was whitetail.
Remember how Matt Hubler was on a couple episodes ago talking about Pathfinder, and he mentioned that they work with the Muley Fanatic Foundation, right, in the Southeast Wyoming chapter. And so I went to their banquet this last weekend and checked in with Matt. And we were sitting at this table, and this guy, of course, war stories come out, but along the lines of what you're talking about, he pulls out his phone and he's like, "Well, was driving in on the elk hunt and shot a 200-point mule deer," right? Guts it, throws it in the back of the truck.
That's not a little deer.
No, that's not little, right?
No.
And then he continues on, and later that day shoots his 370 inch elk, right?
Yeah.
And a cow. And all I could say was, "Well, that's a lot of work, but that's a damn good day in Wyoming."
No, that's a pretty good day. I'd take that day.
Yeah.
Well, that does it. We're going to keep it short tonight.
Yeah. That's
our
fair enough.
update on Sunday hunting in Pennsylvania. To everybody in Pennsylvania, congratulations, you guys. This was a ton of work. I know congratulations to Jake McQuiggan and his organization for the work that they've been doing. I mean, it's literally been a decade plus, I think, that they've been working on this. And now it's Massachusetts and Maine.
Maine. Yeah.
Are those two states that still have that blue law in the books where you cannot hunt on Sundays. So
in addition to more than 3 days in Pennsylvania, right? I assume that they'll want to try to
and so
work towards that.
What they're looking at is the hope is that this is the start, that people see that like you have hunting on 3 days and the world doesn't end.
Right. Yeah.
And that they can come back and, look to expand that opportunity and, and treat it just like every other day. And I think that some of the groups that were opposed to this, it was interesting to watch. I know that one of the challenges that they are going to face on this is that some folks were very bitter when it came back out of the House. I heard some testimony on this bill, and some of the legislators were talking about maybe they were going to change their vote because they didn't like how some of the rhetoric, how fiery some of the rhetoric got from people who were critical of those opposing the bill. And so they were kind of sticking up for their team and saying like, hey, don't, if you're going to talk bad about my folks, maybe I'll change my vote.
Yeah, right. That's a lesson right there, because there's a lot of times where we've seen a legislator who may support something really disagree with the way the opposition to it takes after someone just for, thinking and trying to be a legislator and do what they need to do. And sometimes legislatures will stick up for each other as a whole in a group. So just, if you're advocating for a bill, be careful. This is about civility and not just, winning at all costs, right?
Yeah. Kind of a related story to that. This is actually so the Governor of Wyoming, there was a bill moving through the Wyoming legislature. There was a pro firearms bill, and it was being carried, and he supported it. He supported the entire concept. He's like, yep, good concept. He was gonna, sign. He was in favor of the bill. During the floor testimony on that bill, there was some lobbying that went on that was coercive lobbying. And so what happened is you had a group that came in and threatened legislators, and, kind of a veiled threat about, that went out to all their email, and you had somebody standing up and testifying on the floor in such a manner that the legislature felt like they were being, threatened. And
it's bad enough it made the news.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, which was unfortunate. So the bill passed, which is what this group that was lobbying in a that way wanted anyway.
They wanted it, yeah.
Yep. And the governor supported the bill. And so what the governor did is, like, this is kind of interesting. The governor, he considered whether he was going to veto that bill just because, out of principle of saying, like, no, you do not threaten our legislators. You do not do these things.
Yeah.
And so what the governor ended up actually doing was he let that bill, so you can sign a bill into law, or you can, after a certain period of time, if you don't sign it, you don't veto it, the bill becomes law without signature.
In Wyoming in particular, there are states where you can pocket veto. And in Wyoming, if there's
it's not a pocket veto, it's a pocket passage.
Right. So it will pass without signature by the governor.
Yep. And so what he said on that bill, he actually released a public statement, and he said, basically in that public statement, he said, like, I don't have any problem with this. But the way that people talked and treated each other in this discourse was inappropriate. It is not appropriate for our state. It is not the way that we do business. And because of that, this bill will go into law without my signature. And so, like, that was, he felt strong enough about the issue, and that it was the right thing, that the bill was good, that he let the bill live.
Yeah.
But he said, like, you won't, it was kind of a shot across the bow, like, don't do that anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. Fair enough.
So anyway.
All right. Well,
politics stories.
Yeah. Got a few of those. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we don't have Dave here to drag this out. So
love you, Dave. You think you'll listen to it?
I don't know.
Let's say something and we'll find out.
David, you need to tell me that you like red shoes.
Yeah.
And that just say that sentence. I'll know what you mean.
Here's the thing to know. Like, well, you know that Dave. Dave likes red shoes. Everybody, everybody keep write in. Ask why Dave likes red shoes, especially B.A. Perry.
Yeah.
Ask Dave why he likes red shoes, but don't ever tell him why. Just
just between us. In
yeah,
case he doesn't listen.
Why do you like red shoes? And then he'll be like, "What did you guys?" It was like nothing. What are you talking?
I don't know what you're talking about. Yeah.
And he'll have to listen to this entire episode just like you to find out.
It's a great social experiment.
All right, everybody.
And with that, remember, life is about experiences. So go have one.